Hello! Shoyan here. I'm a carpenter based in Japan. Today, I'm building a 3.6 meter catwalk in the stairwell. This time, I'm working on the stairwell. The catwalk will be leveled with the second floor dozashi. It is high, so if I lose my balance, I may fall. I will build it carefully and try to avoid falling. Before installing the catwalk, I remove the lie of the timber. After that, I retighten all the hardware. First, I attach a board to the angle brace called a hyuchi. Two hyuchis are exposed. I could secure it without anchor bolts by using coach bolts from the back instead. But since the anchor bolts are installed, I need to hide them. I cover them with thin timber. I first installed support beams for slats. To make the slats, I use joist-sized timber and make them like duckboards. A space will be left for sunlight to pass through. I secure the support beams to the slats. Both slats and support beams are made of Japanese cypress. Ideally, I need to cut a groove for each slat, but that is not possible, so I combine a few slats and join them to the support's notches. I measure the support beam's length. Support beams can be attached directly to buildings. By installing footing strips under them, I raise them 15 millimeters to allow air to pass under them. About half of it overlaps this hyuchi, so I cut out that tricky portion of the hyuchi. Using a guide ruler, I cut it with a circular saw, but it hasn't cut well. It's difficult to cut the exposed timber neatly with a circular saw. It is easier to cut neatly with a handsaw. I sharpen the blades in a snowfall. It's going to be hard. I don't want to do it. I wipe down the blades with wood shavings. I used to plane the columns for 3 to 4 days and sharpen the blade often. In those days, too, I used to wipe them down with wood shavings. There was also a towel, but all of my seniors at work used wood shavings. I wonder why. I thought I have to wipe it off with wood shavings. It was a kind of custom at the time. The quality timber is difficult to cut off at an angle. The handsaw shifts. In addition, if I chisel off too much, even a little, it's noticeable from the bottom. I hope it will fit well. At the first attempt, it fits perfectly. I didn't expect that. I thought I would need to adjust and cut twice or thrice. I'm glad it fits well. I place the slats and plan their placement. I'm confirming the angle of view from the first floor using this thin timber. Depending on where this slat's edge is located, I check how the blind spots from the first floor will look. I'm making 3 sets of catwalk slats. I'm considering where to install the support rail. It's hard to explain in words, but you'll see later on. I cut the slats. Though I'm calling it a slat, the timber is made of a portion of Japanese cypress that has no knots. I use a slat vertically long this time. The spacing is 30mm wide, which is very unusual. A wooden deck or narean has a spacing of only 10 to 12mm. To make the inside as bright as possible, I install the slats vertically long so the sunlight will get through. I cut the slats to a certain length, then align them and cut both ends.
これ下から見てまたこれ見えるとこや見えたり見えないんだと。
I use a groove cutter and cut them in one go. Because the groove cutter can't cut from the edge, I first make a shallow cut with a fine circular saw. This time, using a right-angled ruler, I align 15 to 16 slats and cut them all. I make sure to set timber at both ends when cutting like this. If I don't do this, the last slat will tear out, and it will no longer be usable. The slat popped off when I removed the cramp. I'm relieved that the baseboard isn't damaged. On the back, I have notched a place for a square support rail that'll be installed at a right angle. I'm I'm calling it a catwalk. It sounds like a pass for a cat. However, even if you don't have a cat, it's still called a catwalk. It means a narrow way just wide enough for a cat to pass through. If only 1 or 2 planks are used, or if there are no handrails, it is still called a catwalk. This catwalk has a 90 centimeters width, however. It's not just for cats, it's also for humans. This catwalk is designed to open and close a stairwell window or to clean it. Even with a stairwell window, it is uncommon to see a building with a catwalk. We usually pull a rope or chain, or use an electric window with a switch from the first floor. But the window can't be cleaned, so the owner requested a narrow pass. That is the reason for building this catwalk. As I have finished processing the slats, I assemble them upside down. It's efficient to use 2 sets of slats for a catwalk, but it'll be heavy and I don't think I can carry it. 3 will be the limit. I turn them over and set the support rail. About the side rail, I screw it to the slat's ends. I've decided on the overall position, but I don't mark the side rail. I place a piece of 30mm square lumber between the slats and secure it. The fall prevention baluster is 30mm thick. Between these 30mm spacings, it will be installed snugly. The most important thing is obvious: to secure them at a right angle. As the wood is large, I only used 1 screw for each slat, but the slats have been shifted a little. So I carefully check the diagonals, then the right angles, then secure them firmly with the second screw. It's snowing heavily outside. Bushy winter sparrows. I hide the notch around the bolt before installing the slats. Now, I install the slats. Making it 3 was the right decision. I wouldn't have been able to carry them if I had decided on 2 large slats. It is unusual to install slats in a building. The spacing between the slats seems wide to me. However, the children won't walk here, and it will be used only a few times each year. It will be totally fine if the owner wears slippers and walks carefully, but always stay safe first. To secure them, I screw the slats from the top directly. Ideally, it would be better if the holes could be covered with tarusans. But with a 3cm spacing, it would be difficult, so I screw them in deeply and fill the holes with kokuso, a mix of wood shavings and glue, to finish it.
Yeah, 秘伝の
I apply kokuso to the screw holes, then dry them for a day. If you level off the kokuso flat, it will become thin and cave in after they dry. So I build up the kokuso and chisel it flat after it has dried.
窓をセンターに。
うん。どうしても窓がこっち寄っとるんで、これセンターだったらもうすぐね、右左同じで。よし、この長さで入れてみよう。
Now, I start building the catwalk railing. This railing will be a very simple shape with only a frame. It's not a pony wall. As you can see, I'm going to make the top rail curved. Initially, the top rail shape was not determined. The owner, the designer, and I discussed the shape together. If I were to install only vertical balusters and a horizontal top rail, it would be nondescript. So we decided on the curved railing.
長さ1センチでこんだけ。
Since the bottom curve position won't meet the center of the window, the remaining 1 meter will be higher. However, it doesn't look out of place with the windows, so we went with a sense of fun. It's not difficult to install the curved top rail, but just pressing down from the top, it will fit. As the top rail is flat and horizontal, the radius of the curve is determined by its length, so deciding the length was the most difficult part. In contrast, installation is easy, since I just need to forcefully press it from above.
これが合わなかっ
だからこんだけずれてるわけやん。
た。それは無理やと。これ中間でこ
でもこっちがもうちょい下がる
う。ほと見た時の塵が違うんや。まあいいんじゃないですか。
I first check the catwalk's whole balance and secure it firmly. The column doesn't need to be notched. Even though it doesn't really need screws, I secure it with a few screws on both ends, just in case. Next, I install the balusters. I found a piece of baluster in just the right place. I place them and get the finished image. I install the balusters vertically according to the slat spacing of 30mm. I measure the position of the baluster at the bottom, then draw the lines to the top rail using a laser as a reference. If you don't have a laser, you can measure the spacing horizontally and draw a line to the top rail. It's time consuming, but I use a laser to measure each placement on this occasion. The baluster's end will directly attach to the top rail. I attach the baluster, measure the height, and draw a curved line. The top rail is curved, so I wondered how this 30mm baluster should be radiused, but it was almost straight. I don't see any obstacle to the radius at 30mm. It will attach if I cut it straight. For the top and bottom of the baluster, I use a butt joint. Just measure, cut, and attach slats precisely. The baluster's bottom can be screwed from the bottom side of the slats. I secure the top rail firmly with long screws. Even with only one screw, it will be secured well because the screw is so long. The baluster won't rotate. The baluster is made of quality cedar, so I use a butt joint. It will be quite difficult work if I notch on the bottom of the top rail and join it to a baluster because I won't be able to cut it after the top rail is installed. I need to measure the radius and length to cut the notch and remove the top rail. Also, each baluster placement has its own radius. The butt joint will work well if it is joined neatly. Since I added the top rail shape for a sense of fun, I also added to the tarusen.
微妙やろ。
I'm going to create a variety of shapes of tarusen. In this case, I first cut the tarusen, then attach it to the hole and notch the shape. It's a mistake to notch first, since it's hard to make tarusens that fit irregular shapes of notches. I attach the tarusen and notch out the shape. Since there are 7 balusters, I was planning to make 7 separate shapes, but I couldn't come up with 7 separate shapes. So I make the center tarusen into a diamond shape, then make 3 other types of shapes, square, triangle, and circle, and install them equally. To make the tarusen stand out, I insert them right angled to the top rail straight grade using different wood, Japanese cypress. I receive a lot of emails nowadays. This message is for my mobile carrier advising me to get a new phone since my flip phone will soon be out of service. I'll have to consider getting a smartphone. On this occasion, I curved the top rail. The result is pretty cool. It's an unusual shape. I think it was a good idea to make it into this shape. However, the baluster spacings are 450mm. It could be used as a handrail, but it doesn't fully prevent falls. I really hope the owner will put safety first. The top rail is already planed, but as it will be finished with oil, I finish it with a sander. Finally, I sandpaper the surface with my hand and make the corner slightly rounded. Now, I have finished building the catwalk. It's more than a catwalk. It's a human walk. People can use this place well enough. The railing has been curved with a sense of fun. It took me 3 days to complete what I thought would take 2 days. I think it turned out to be a nice one. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.